Welcome to the August 16, 2020 online worship service at the Unitarian Church of Los Alamos. I'm Rebecca Howard, Worship Associate. Our minister, the Reverend John Cullinan, is taking a well-deserved vacation and will return August 31st. Today, I am delighted to welcome our guest speaker, Renae Mitchell. Renae is originally from Louisiana with an American father and an immigrant mother. Unfortunately, her parents were intolerant of beliefs that were not their own, and their beliefs were at odds with each other's. This led to a number of unhappy childhood experiences that caused Renae to reject churches in general. Shortly after she left home for college, she made a promise to herself that she would never attend a church again. During and after college, Renae had the opportunity to visit and live in countries around the world. One of the most formative was the year and 2 months she spent teaching English in Japan. While in Japan, Renae had a number of spiritual experiences that changed her life, particularly at Yamadera, the Temple of 1,000 Steps. Renae decided to pursue a doctorate in comparative religion. While in graduate school, Renae heard about the UU Church for the first time from a very good friend. Renae was still very anti-church at the time, but he insisted that the non-religious, non-conformist, non-dogmatic nature of this non-church. Unfortunately, the friend died unexpectedly, but his words and his insistence stuck with her. Renae later got married right before her doctoral exams. The schedule was not planned, but such is life, and she passed the exams anyway. She wrote and defended her dissertation, and instead of pursuing her own academic path, she followed her spouse to New Mexico. When Renae finally decided she was okay with the idea of having a baby, she realized one of her biggest concerns was having a nurturing community that would serve as a sort of extended family for her child. This is a concern of a number of families in Los Alamos who join the lab from faraway places and have no other family nearby. Joining a church was not a consideration, though, and Renae searched just desperately for a local parenting group or a kids group that would fit what she was looking for, but nothing seemed quite right. One day, Renae, her spouse, and her toddler were exploring Los Alamos during the latter months of 2016. She felt isolated by the presidential election. Although her friends shared her values, they seemed to be in a minority, and the support of the newly elected president seemed incomprehensible. The progress this country had made in accepting previously ostracized or oppressed groups seemed in terrible danger, but few seemed to see this or wanted to talk about it. These thoughts were in the back of her mind when Renae turned a corner while on this walk with her family and saw a rainbow flag. The utter irreverence and insolence of flying this flag in a time of such oppression and progressive backsliding seemed to be a calling, and she rushed to peek in the windows. She saw a Black Lives Matter sign, then another sign in a window, "All are welcome here," featuring a woman in a hijab. "What the hell is this place?" Renae yelled out to her spouse, who was patiently waiting on the sidewalk and was quite sure someone was calling the police on this trespassing woman. At first, Renae could not see the sign past the rainbow flag, but when she finally did, she immediately remembered her friend from graduate school. As much as the idea of voluntarily entering a church distressed her, she looked up the church website. She found that one of their friends was giving a sermon the following Sunday. That closed the deal. They attended that Sunday. For the first few months, attending church services was very difficult, but setting her prejudices aside, Renae realized that this place was ideal for her daughter and decided to become a member and do what she could for the church community. The church has since become her home, too. Renae has been involved in activism and community development from a young age. In early high school, she pushed for a recycling program and climate change activism. She later served in AmeriCorps for 3 years. As a college undergraduate, she became involved in promoting assistance for people of color, especially local immigrant population who could not speak English, by volunteering as an English as a second language teacher. In graduate school, Renae assisted undergraduate assistants with reading and writing skills outside of the classroom, especially those whose backgrounds did not prepare them for college-level work. One of her favorite courses to teach is Race, Class, Ethnicity in the United States. She has always taught this course as a people of color perspective of U.S. history. It's an important class and has opened a number of students' eyes. It has also caused the most arguments of any course she has taught, as students find it very difficult to let go of the version of history they are conventionally familiar with. Renae really hopes to be able to teach this course again in person sometime soon. I hope so too, and would like to be in the classroom as a student. So welcome, Renae.
We light this chalice to quiet and outshine the numerous fires burning in the world around us. This chalice casts a circle of light for this brief hour that we're together. Let's stand together in this circle, praise each other for our bright and ardent passions, values, beliefs, and support each other when our passionate inner flames threaten to consume what keeps us whole. Without judgment, let us be at peace. In the safety of the chalice light, our unifying circle is cast.
As Unitarian Universalists, we affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person and support a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on your life's journey, you are welcome here. I'd like to extend a special welcome to anyone who is joining us for the first time. To learn more about our church, as well as opportunities to connect during the week, check our website, our Facebook page, and sign up for our email announcements. You can contact our church office for more information. Contact information is on our website at uulosalamos.org and in the service notes below. If you're watching on Sunday morning, we invite you to join our Zoom coffee hour after the service at 11. The information for that was sent out in our email announcement and is on our Facebook page. Whether you are visiting us for the first time or have been a part of this congregation for years, may this time we set apart from our everyday concerns help us see what is most important to us in ourselves, in each other, and in the world around us. Each week brings joy and sorrow to our lives. We may come here today with our hearts soaring with joy or our hearts heavy with sorrow. The moving away of a beloved friend, the loss of our ability to travel to visit friends or loved ones, or the chaos and confusion of the events in the world and in our own communities can weigh heavily on us and bring a sense of sorrow. We may also come with joy in the simple feeling of a breeze brushing our cheek as we take a walk, or an unexpected gift arriving on our doorstep or in the post, or simply sharing a cup of tea with a friend in a sense of normalcy. All may bring us joy. Let us take a moment now as 2 candles burn in our sanctuary to bring to our minds and hearts the sorrows and the joys that we carry with us, whether spoken aloud or held quietly and tenderly within.
Everything suits me that suits your designs. Oh, my universe, nothing is too early or too late for me that is in your own good time. All is fruit for me that your seasons bring, O nature. All proceeds from you, all subsists in you, and to you all things return. That's an excerpt from the Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, Book 4, Part 23. Let us now invoke nature, universe, the source of all love and creative energy, so that we can inhabit the sanctuary wherever we are and maintain its framework to weather the storms to come.
Hey everybody. So do you remember when we talked about feeling all the feelings a little while back? Do some of y'all remember that? Well, we are going to talk about our feelings again today because feelings are super important and they tell us a lot of things. So first I wanted to ask y'all a question. How are you? No, really. How are you? How you doing? There's been a lot that has happened this past spring and summer, and I know a lot of us are now back in school, but not in person. Online. Did you know that you're a strong and courageous person? Did you know that? It takes a strong and courageous person to feel all their feelings. And let me tell you, it is not easy. I get sad when I can't see all of my friends and family because of COVID-19. And sometimes I cry. I get sad when I don't get to see my friends and my teachers in my regular classroom at school. I get sad when I see my friends called racist names. I get sad when I see some of our police officers kill Black and brown people, and I get angry too. I get angry when I find out that my friends of different races who live in different communities do not have as good as schools as we have here in Los Alamos. I get sad, I get angry when I don't feel listened to by other people. I get angry and sad when I hear about people who died of COVID-19. And it's okay to feel all your feelings. And right now, I know my feelings might be different every day. And my parents' feelings might be different every day too. But you know what? Your parents and caregivers love you. And they are here to take care of you and keep you safe. And you know what else? Your church community loves you too. And we are here to help you and your family when you need help. And we're here as your church community to meet online and do fun things like talent shows and game nights and film festivals and movie nights. Or church Minecraft, maybe, and family chapels. So we're here for you too, in the good and the bad. And do you guys remember those door hangers that I held up before? Here's some of them. We used these when we were talking about feeling all the feelings. So I'm going to send, your parents will get an email with the document with these door hangers so you can cut them out and make them, and then you can use them and hang them on your door. So like this one, you could hang on your door when you're feeling happy. So these are door hangers to tell your family how you're feeling, right? So that one you could do when you're happy. You could hang this one on your door when you're feeling angry. And you could hang this one on your door when you're feeling disgusted, right? And you could hang this one on your door when you're feeling a little scared and fearful about everything that's going on. And you could hang this one on your door when you just need to cry and you're sad. And that's okay too. So ask your parents to print these off and you guys can cut them out, and then you can use them when you're feeling all your feelings, right? So you can let your parents know how you're feeling, and then you can talk about it. So it is courageous and brave to feel all the feelings. And this week, as you get online for school, know that you can talk to your teacher about your feelings. You can talk to your church teachers too. And you can talk to your school counselor. And of course you can talk to your siblings, family members, parents. There are lots of people who will listen to your feelings. So keep being brave and courageous. See you next time.
This reading comes from Slavoj Žižek's Pandemic, which came out earlier this year. Noli me tangere, touch me not, according to John 20:17, is what Jesus said to Mary Magdalene when she recognized him after his resurrection. How do I, an avowed Christian atheist, understand these words? First, I take them together with Christ's answer to his disciples' question as to how we will know that he is returned, resurrected. Christ says he will be there whenever there is love between his believers. He will be there not as a person to touch, but as the bond of love and solidarity between people. So, do not touch me. Touch and deal with other people in the spirit of love. Today, however, in the midst of the coronavirus epidemic, we are all bombarded precisely by calls not to touch others, but to isolate ourselves, to maintain a proper corporeal distance. What does this mean for the injunction, touch me not? Hands cannot reach the other person. It is only from within that we can approach one another. And the window onto within is our eyes. These days, when you meet someone close to you, or even a stranger, and maintain a proper distance, a deep look into the other's eyes can disclose more than an intimate touch. In one of his youthful fragments, Hegel wrote, "The beloved is not opposed to us. He is one with our own being. We see us only in him, but then again, he is not a we anymore." It is crucial not to read these two claims as opposed, as if the beloved is partially a we, part of ourself, or myself, and partially a riddle. Is not the miracle of love that you are part of my identity, precisely insofar as you remain a miracle that I cannot grasp? A riddle not only for me, but also for yourself. No coronavirus can take this from us. So there is a hope that corporeal distancing will even strengthen the intensity of our link with others. It is only now, when I have to avoid many of those who are close to me, that I fully experience their presence, their importance to me. I can already hear a cynic's laughter at this point. Okay, maybe we will get such moments of spiritual proximity, but how will this help to deal with the ongoing catastrophe? Will we learn anything from it? Hegel wrote that the only thing we can learn from history is that we learn nothing from history. So I doubt the epidemic will make us any wiser. The only thing that is clear is that the virus will shatter the very foundations of our lives, causing not only an immense amount of suffering, but also economic havoc, conceivably worse than the Great Recession. There is no return to normal. The new normal will have to be constructed on the ruins of our old lives. Or we will find ourselves in a new barbarism whose signs are already clearly discernible. It will not be enough to treat the epidemic as an unfortunate accident, to get rid of its consequences and return to the smooth functioning of the old way of doing things, with perhaps some adjustments to our healthcare arrangements. We will have to raise the key question: what is wrong with our system that we were caught unprepared by the catastrophe, despite scientists warning us about it for years? And Žižek continues, this will help us deal with this somewhat. Fully assume all small rituals, formulas, quirks, and so on, that will help stabilize your daily life. Almost everything that might work is permitted here, if it helps avoid a mental breakdown. Earlier this year, I was reading an online newspaper when I saw one of the most frightening photographs I had ever seen. The photo was of a crowded New York subway at a time when the dreaded coronavirus had already reached the US and had started to take hold of New York City. The story is titled New York in the Age of Coronavirus, and it described the virus as a creeping anxiety. Yet, in early to mid-March, the virus was clearly an impending deadly threat. Lockdowns had already begun, and seeing so many people crowded in a subway was like watching an approaching reckoning. The population would not heed the impending danger. There was little hope that we could avoid what the rest of the world had already been suffering. Unfortunately, this image has all too quickly become normal again. But its normalcy is abnormal. But what is normal? Is there some constant that weaves itself through our lives that we can always hope to return to? It seems that when we say normal, we often mean the absence of prolonged trauma or suffering of some sort. It's a state that lacks the hardship of being unmoored and the pain of upheaval. But what we don't often realize is that normal is a luxury. Normal is a privilege. Having a normal, a constant and dependable ideal or idealized state of being, is exceptional. Having a norm, a state of normalcy, is not normal. The experiences of recent months have shown us that groups of people can share an ideal of normal that is quite distinct from others. And some groups can be convinced of the ideal of an imagined normal of the past. That if only that long ago way of life could return, normalcy could be restored also. Of course, this normal never existed. Why is it that so often one's idea of normal clashes so significantly with others? Is social media a part of the problem? With social media, we have all been enrolled in a psychological experiment in which no one gave consent, and it's disorienting. It seems information has been weaponized and communication has become performative. And on all of the most important topics, it seems to be fury and sanctimony, and so often in bad faith. We appear to be driving ourselves crazy, actually crazy, as in incapable of coming into contact with reality, unable to distinguish fact from fiction, and then becoming destabilized by our imagination and confirmation bias, and then lashing out at one another on that basis. There's so much we don't know, and yet there are many who behave as if every important question was answered a long time ago, perhaps as long ago as the ancient Greeks. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus opines in the second book of his Discourses, "May it never be my lot to have a fool who thinks himself wise for a friend." No one is more difficult to reach, and we certainly see that today. Google has turned many of us into wise fools. Unfortunately, this also means that those open to new perspectives show a willingness to learn and take part in dialogue, are subjected to heckling and even abuse online and offline. This is really destructive, and not just for individuals, but for society. Because we all have between us and a collapse of our democracy is a foundation built on successful conversations. If we can't reason with one another, then there is no path forward other than violence, dialogue, or violence. Our current state of communication certainly disrupts our conception of normalcy. The fact that I'm speaking to you in such a disjointed way right now is an indication of this. The primary cause and worsening of our problem is, of course, the pandemic. The root in the original Greek, pan, referred to all, and demos referred to people or the people. Written as pandemic, the term optimistically meant belonging to all people, echoing words like democratic. The term has, somewhat ironically, demonstrated the lack of democracy present in our economic and healthcare system today. The term later came to mean affecting all people, and later still, affecting all people in a not great way. But despite this, the word shares a root with words like panacea, a cure for all ills. And, as my daughter pointed out, pancakes, also a cure for all ills. These words reflect our ideas of normalcy, rooted in a concern for all within our relationship circles. But our values and our distinct normals can be seen by others as good or ill. Our half-hearted lockdowns and ineptitude in testing and our uncoordinated attempts at reopening have caused the COVID-19 caseload to spike. As many have pointed out, the virus doesn't care about ethics or politics and our longing for normalcy. It only cares that we keep breathing down each other's necks, and we've certainly been doing enough of that. Of course, normal life for many millions of Americans was nothing like a paradise. And the disparities in wealth and health and opportunity our politics and businesses have gotten used to in this country are unconscionable. There's no excuse for this kind of inequality in the richest country on earth. But our communication outlets only offer us a confused and confusing response that is systematically silencing in its dialogue. This isn't just politics and human suffering on display, it's epistemic, it's philosophical, it's ideas about truth. What it means to say that something is true. How does one figure out what is going on in the world, what is real? If we can't agree about what is real or about what is likely to be real, we will never agree about how we should live together. And the problem is, or the beautiful thing is, we're stuck with one another. But the current presidential administration has also made its strategy one that is centered on normalizing tragedy. Way back in May of this year, President Trump chose as his path going forward to announce in a July 5th tweet that deaths due to the virus were, quote, low and steady, end quote. Good news that, according to him, the media had failed to report. This strategy of reframing what is normal, no matter how irrational, has worked and continues to be effective. Again, here we see the normal shifting. What was once horrifying to comprehend is now simply the background noise of daily life. The tangible effects of what is happening, the injury and death, the lost businesses, the educations put on hold, and the breakdown in public trust of almost every institution. We find ourselves thinking about all of the good and important things we would be doing or cannot do now, and perhaps won't contemplate doing for many years to come, because we will be struggling to get back to that distant paradise we once called normal life. Our ability to reframe our normal to such an extreme degree is a capacity that I think many of us were shocked to realize that we have. But as psychologists have argued, prolonged trauma, even when not directly experienced, can have profound effects. To paraphrase author Riyad Abed in the article, Tyranny and Mental Health, human beings adopt a form of learned helplessness brought about by repeated exposure to painful or aversive stimuli, leading the traumatized to develop a collective belief in the absence of control or power, and a subsequent acceptance of one's inability to change one's environment, a form of apathy. Another symptom is emotional exhaustion, in which individuals find they can no longer summon the empathy that one once could for deeply troubling circumstances, a form of burnout. The further we try to push ourselves past the onset of apathy and burnout, according to psychologists, the more deeply the trauma becomes entrenched, and the more difficult it is to heal and recover.
and rediscover the empathy and resolve we once had or want to have. That is why it is critical, not a luxury, not a waste of time, but absolutely necessary to find a way to step back from negative stimuli fully and allow ourselves to recover. To return briefly to the Stoics, the Stoic philosophy teaches that in order to live a good life, to live well, one must draw a distinction between those things one can change and those things one cannot change. That is, cease cultivating anxiety about things that lie beyond the power of our will. This is not apathy, which is again to turn away from everything in resentment, because you don't have the power to change anything. It is, in fact, a recognition that there are some things you cannot change, but there are some things you can, and direct your energy toward those things you can change. Now, I'm not necessarily espousing Stoicism as a life choice or as a panacea for the psychological damage caused by our current state. But the Stoics were on the right track when it came to recognizing that human beings cannot maintain a healthy degree of equilibrium when faced with such unimaginable suffering. And I believe this is especially true now that it is too often not unimaginable. Thanks to our means of instant and excessive communication, we are not given the opportunity to unimagine the tragic events of the pandemic as the seemingly worst possible outcomes emerge daily in front of our eyes. So I would like to help you step away for just a minute or two by showing you how I'm able to recover. It doesn't always work, but it is a huge help to me most of the time. Let's go. This is one of my favorite spots to go when I need a break from everything happening around me and my own worry. There's something about aspen trees. Maybe it's their unusual shape, white bark, vociferous leaves, or the fact that they seem to be covered with little eyes that makes it seem that I've left my own reality and stepped into another world, or at least another and unfamiliar part of the planet. Maybe you grew up with aspen trees and they don't seem so unusual and otherworldly. But do you have a place or space where you go to escape? Somewhere in town, your own backyard, your personal space? If not, find a space or designate one and make the time to visit and go there whether or not you are aware of your need to step away from your present normal.
Here in this religious community, we receive gifts that nurture body, mind, and spirit. Our offering is an opportunity to share some of what we have with the wider world. Even though we are unable to meet in person, we continue to take an online offering each week to support our community partners. Our offering recipient for the month of August is the Los Alamos Family Council. Family Council promotes emotional and social well-being through education, prevention, and counseling, and serves Los Alamos County through their counseling center and 2 youth activity centers. Please use the link in the notes below to make your direct donation. Thank you for your generosity. May what you give bring you joy.
This closing is by Jim McGaw. When I say go in peace, I don't mean go in mindless oblivion. When I say go in peace, I don't mean go without challenging yourself or others. When I say go in peace, I don't mean go in utter ease and comfort. When I say go in peace, I mean go in peace seeking justice. I mean go in peace committed to equal rights and opportunities for all. When I say go in peace, I mean go in the peace that is created when together. We build communities of true solidarity, deep compassion, and fierce, unrelenting love. Go in peace.